All right, Ben, quick question for you. Your rookies came on late in the season, Luther Bird and Colston Loveland. What can you do for them heading into year 2, and what can they do in the offseason to make themselves into superstars in this team and take this team to the Super Bowl next year?
Yeah, so, that's the good news about going into year 2 is you got a much better feel for the players on the roster, and certainly the 2 guys that you mentioned are guys that we looked to target in the draft last year, and they're going to be a big part of what we're doing going forward. Neither one of them had a full off season with us because they were both coming off some injuries. Colston had one during the season, and then Luther got dinged up a little bit as we were training in the spring. But we look forward to getting them through a full off season program and seeing where it goes from there.
Is there anything else that you can take from last year's draft process to go into this year?
No, we got a vision. Ryan does a great job of stacking that board, him and his crew, and was able to sit with some of the scouts are there, and I think they do a great job bringing the information to the table and proceed business as usual.
When you get to this part of the year, how do you detach yourself from, as you evaluate your own roster, detach yourself from guys that you like, guys that helped you win, to be able to evaluate where you need to be better?
Yeah, I think that's a challenging thing because like I said, it's completely different than a year ago where you're coming in with a blank slate. You really don't know the personalities, and you haven't really, you appreciate them as what they put on tape, but not so much for how they interact day in and day out in the building. And so there's certainly relationships that are formed. I'll say that this is one of the closest knit groups I've ever been a part of, last year's team, and that's hard to generate. I wish there was some magic stick that you could just float on out there to make that happen, and yet we had a lot of high character players that they came together and they wanted what was best for the team and for their buddies, and so it's a hard thing to replicate, as I mentioned, but what we have to do is best for the team, and as we stack back up the 90-man roster again, we've got numerous holes to fill, and I know Ryan and I are committed to making it the most competitive roster we can.
Ben, what's your vision for figuring out left tackle in this next stage here?
Yeah, we've got some opportunities there, whether it's free agency or the draft, and certainly some of our own in the building as well that we're looking to continue to develop. And so we look at all the opportunities out there, and we've got a lot of conversations going on for what that's going to look like. And it's not just that one position, it's really a lot of them. We have a lot of guys currently that are free agents that we got to make some tough decisions on, and if we can't bring them back, and like I told them at the last meeting, I wish we could bring everyone back, but that's just not how it works. And so if we can't bring them back, then we certainly have to look to fill that void somehow.
Ryan openly said that you're going back to square one this offseason, even after winning the division for the first time in 7 years. What does that look like for you guys, especially through the draft process?
Each phase of the offseason kind of brings its own challenges. So right now we evaluate our own roster. I think our coaching staff has done a fantastic job evaluating the free agents that are out there. And now we're starting to dive into the draft guys. And so, it doesn't really change anything from our process or our procedure, but it's always exciting this time of year, and I know our crew's going to do a great job with that evaluation.
There's a bit of an uptick right now in terms of like 12 and 13 personnel across the league. I'm wondering, what do you like about that as a play caller, and how do you think that impacts drafting?
Yeah, no, I think I've been 14 years now in this league, and you've certainly seen more 11 personnel on first and second down over those 14 years. And so what has happened is, rather than base defense being the primary defense for most defenses, it's now nickel defense or some variation of that. And so, there's always a yin and a yang to it, and because of that, I think a lot of teams now install nickel defense as their day one install, and they have a lot more defense, and they give offenses a lot more problems out of that. And so naturally, I think offenses have tried to counter that by getting them back into base defense by going heavier. Sometimes 12 personnel will do the trick, other times 13 will do the trick. But I do think having some versatility at that tight end position, that's hard to find. We certainly are very fortunate to have a roster full of some really good players that we feel good about locking in line, to lining out wide as a receiver, to being back in the backfield. So when you have that versatility, it really opens up Pandora's box.
The two most long tenured play calling offensive coordinators in the league are heading into their second year. What does that say about the ability of guys around the league to establish like continuity and offensive identity?
Yeah, no, I think it's certainly different than what it used to be when I first joined the NFL, and some of the older veteran coaches have kind of, I don't want to say faded away, but they've stepped to the side a little bit, and it's been a little bit younger. I think you've seen the age of offensive coordinators or play callers go down over the course of the last 20 years or so, and I think teams have kind of seen this model of where if you can make your play caller the head coach, then you can have continuity with your quarterback for an extended period of time, which is a valuable thing. The play callers that are not head coaches, they tend to get plucked pretty quickly to become head coaches of their own, and it kind of leaves the previous team in limbo to figure out the next course of action.
Ben, what advice would you give to Tyson working with Dan Campbell's league and able to say beyond?
Drew doesn't need my advice. Drew does a great job. He's a dear friend of mine, and I know he's going to knock it out of the park there in Detroit, and so very, very happy for him and that opportunity. There's a ton of really good players there. There's some coaches in that building that I care deeply for, and so I think they're in good hands.
You talk about young coaches. From your first year as a coach, did you learn about the balance between work ethic and quality of work? And how long were your days pretty much?
Yeah. No, I mean, you got to do whatever it takes to get the job done, and so each day is kind of its own story that way, but I'm not going to get specifics of how long I was in the office or anything like that, but we got a great staff, and we're all committed to getting whatever work's done that's necessary, but at the same time, we do need to bring energy in for the players each and every day as well. We'll miss a ton. The guy's a phenomenal football coach, and that coaching staff a year ago, and really similar to this year, is there were a lot of guys outside of my circle that I didn't know very well. So he was really through reputation. We had a lot of productive conversations before he decided to join on board. And then I was just blown away from the impact he had, not only in that position room, which Swift had probably the best year of his career, and then seventh rounder Monungai had a hell of a year himself. Not just that room, but the entire offense. He brings a demanding presence. The standard is the standard with Eric Bieniemy, and those are big shoes to fill. Fortunately, I do feel strongly about Eric Stootsville from Miami, a guy that I worked with before. He's been around the block a few times. He's been a part of really good rushing offenses in his past, and I know he's going to bring a great flavor for us.
With his loaded.
I think last year was pretty much an audition as far as I'm concerned. I was blown away with what he was able to do in the building day in and day out, things that maybe not everyone else could see. He's very thoughtful, very detail-oriented. For what we were looking for from that role, he really fits the bill perfectly.
Ben Ryan was talking about taking phone calls on Tyson Bagent. What's that conversation like from your point of view? I know how much you guys like him.
No. I love Tyson. And that's one that kind of pulls at your heartstrings a little bit because he's someone that you care about so deeply, and he's a hell of a football player that at some point you want to see him have a chance to do it himself. And so, we'll always do what's best for our team and our organization. I do think there's a lot of merit to having a strong number 2 quarterback, which he certainly fits that bill. I'm of the mind that he's probably one of the best 32 in the NFL. His preseason tape over the last few years has probably confirmed that, in my opinion. But if I took myself out of the equation, I want what's best for him. If he would like an opportunity to start, I certainly hope he can get that somewhere.
With as loaded as your receiver, top of your receiver depth chart is, and the contributions that Colston made as a rookie, do you look at this offseason, just evaluating the offense, like you might have some expendable pieces in that receiver room if there was a trade, or just trying to free up maybe not having as many top-tier receivers in the depth of the offense?
Well, you can never have too much talent. I mean, that's I know what you're getting at there, Courtney, but I feel really good about the players that we have, and like I said, we've got such a better feel as a staff now than what we did when we started a year ago, and so each guy brings something different to the table. And that's really what we're looking to generate from all of our skill positions. How can we best complement each other? Who's got the speed? We need versatility, guys that can line up all over the place. Certainly guys that have great hands. I think when you look at a 17-game season or 17-game plus, when you make the postseason, you need all hands on deck, because the truth of the matter is not everybody is gonna stay available throughout that.
Ben,
It seems like a dream scenario to win a Super Bowl with a quarterback on a rookie contract, spend the money surrounding him. How come you think nobody's been able to do that?
I don't know that so much. We're just really focused on building the best roster we can right now, to be honest with you.
And what was your with Dennis Allen? How much of a challenge do you see it to retool this defensive side of the ball? And how big of a voice are you about specific players, and trying to effort them towards Dennis?
Yeah, well, I think we feel a lot better about having the health of our secondary be a lot better this go around. Last year between Kyler and Jalen, we didn't feel like we were at full strength there on the back end for majority of the season. I do think that's going to help out. I think there's ways that we can generate more pass rush up front. That'll help out significantly as well. But certainly it's something we're looking at. How do we upgrade the personnel in certain spots? There's a number of guys that are up contract-wise, and so there will be a retooling there to a degree. But yeah, I know DA is looking forward to the opportunity to get his hands on these guys one more time and see what that looks
Ben,
like.
what was your big?
Last one here, guys. Say it again.
What stood out to you about Declan Doyle last year? What are the Ravens getting into those?
Yeah, no, Declan's a phenomenal football coach. If you didn't know that he was 29 years old, you wouldn't blink an eye. I mean, the guy is seasoned beyond his years. This has been his calling. He's known for a long time that he was going to be a football coach, and he's prepared himself accordingly. Very detail-oriented, extremely smart, has a great way of communicating. He's very clear. So I think those guys are getting someone really, really good. I'm disappointed that we lost them as quickly as we did. I was hoping that we'd be able to hold on to him for longer.
Ben, what are the commandments of David Blau? What did you learn there?
Yeah, my experience with Blau has been as a player, but you could kind of tell early on that that coaching was going to be in his calling as well. He's got a unique ability to relate with those guys, and it doesn't matter what position it is. Those guys, they all rally to him. He certainly did that when he was a player. He elevates the people around him, and I think that's always the biggest compliment you can give somebody.